Hi, everybody. Today I'd like to talk a bit about Grendel, the gluttonous warframe. So Grendel is a frame that I thought I would hate. One of my friends basically made me try him, and I think he's actually pretty fun and very surprisingly effective at high level content. I think there's a lot of frames people really don't give enough credit. I think Grendel is definitely one of those frames, especially in Steel Path. Grendel is a complete monster. So you can see here on the right that I've replaced Nourish with Fire Blast from the Helminth system. So I did most of Steel Path with Grendel actually before Helminth came out. And so he did really awesome, performed really well, had a little bit of trouble killing some things. So with Helminth, I was really interested to see what Helminth could bring that could improve the Grendel build that I really like to play. The build that I play has very low duration, so Nourish didn't get much value. I think one of the problems with Grendel's kit is his buffs from Nourish have a very short base duration, which makes it really hard to build around them. So I ended up just favoring a build like this, which ended up pretty much dumping duration almost entirely. And so if you use a max fleeting expertise and a max streamline, you will get maximum efficiency on channeled abilities, even though you have such low duration. And so this is just how channeled abilities work. The energy over time uses a combination of efficiency and duration. And even though efficiency won't go over 175% on your stat screen here, it does actually count up to 190% in this specific case of channeled abilities. So this build is a little strange, and it took a while for me to find a build for Grendel that I felt really good about. Um, and so you really need max efficiency. That is an absolute must on Grendel, in my opinion. I also think that Hunter Adrenaline is very good on Grendel, and this is another reason why Grendel feels much better in difficult content than he does in just kind of normal everyday content. But he kind of has two different play styles that he can use for either of those, and so I'll go over that a little bit. Otherwise, I kind of just have pretty standard stuff. I love Prime Sure-Footed. I really can't play the game without this. It sucks that it's gated behind such a huge requirement. This comes from 400 login. It's the 400 login reward, which really stinks. I wish there was other ways for people to get it because it's very good quality of life. Pretty standard health defense stuff with adaptation and vitality. Grendel's passive is when he has enemies in his gut, he gets 50 armor per enemy, and that doesn't cap. So you can be extremely tanky with Grendel. You can just sit there in a bunch of Steel Path Grenier and not give a crap. Arcane Grace also helps with that. So this is very much like a face tank type build. I know these are pretty expensive arcanes, so if you weren't able to grind Scarlet Spear the last time it was around, they did say it should be coming back towards the end of the year. I would highly, highly, highly advise getting bare minimum Arcane Energize, and then if you want to farm one defensive arcane, Guardian is very good. I also use Aegis a lot. Grace is also pretty useful. Um, and then, so I wrap it up with a bit of range to increase the the range at which I can suck enemies in with my feast, and also the radius of Fire Blast. And then finally, I have Catapult on here because this augment is just really fun. This is not necessary. You can probably throw anything else in here. Frankly, one thing you can actually do that I tried out is running both Rage and Hunter Adrenaline. That's totally viable. Another thing that you can do is in the aura, enemy radar is actually pretty nice because you have a lot of armor strip already, and you're not healing your pet up with pack leader, nor do you have any kind of defense for your pet. So your pet will die. So I'm actually using one of the new Kavats, the Panzer Vulpaphyla, And this is, I'm actually using Hunter Recovery, so my pet can actually heal me a little bit. It has Primed Animal Instinct and Fetch. And this pet is actually very strong. It can output a lot of healing. Frostjaw and Venom Teeth do affect the viral damage it does, as does Bite. For some reason, Maul does not affect the viral damage from these. I dropped Bite because I really like running Tech Assault when I'm running a Kavat, because this thing has no like cooldown at all, and so this can just keep proccing and keep your Kavat alive. So the other option is running a Smita Kavat, but this build requires a lot of like ability use, and it's kind of annoying to have to go resurrect your Smita. So that's why I went with the Vulpaphyla, because it'll just resurrect itself with this precept, Panzer De-evolution or Devolution. So I like this new companion a lot. Very fun to play with. Honestly, the weapons don't matter at all with this build. I'm just using these weapons because I like them. I'm using Vazarin just for Protective Dash. That's the main reason that I'm using Vazarin. And you can see I've been very lazy about filling out the rest of my waybounds after I got, the 3 focus schools down. So really it's just the build, Vazarin. Honestly, you can kind of run whatever companion you feel comfortable with. You can probably run whatever focus school you feel comfortable with. I will say, because I'm using Hunter Adrenaline, I'm actually running a Decaying Dragon Key to reduce my shields. So my shields, I want my shields to break faster so I can get energy. And so for this, I'm just going to show, you see how far away these guys are. So I'm just going to show how far away Fire Blast can actually go. So it hit those enemies all the way over there. One important thing is with Fire Blast, you do need to have line of sight. So you see how it hit some of these enemies but not others? And so Fire Blast, the subsumed version, strips 75% of the enemy's armor. So Grendel, he strips enemy armor while they're in his gut, but it takes quite a while, and it's really hard to get enough strength on Grendel to make it worthwhile. But what you can do is, you can just use Fire Blast to strip armor. And so what is going on right now, right? What just happened? So Grendel's won his feast. He sucks enemies into his gut, and that damage scales with enemy level. And it's very strange because it actually scales from the sum of enemy levels in your gut. So that means the more enemies you have in there and the higher level those enemies are, the more damage you're going to do to them. So this means you can basically completely drop strength from Grendel's build, especially if you're not using Nourish, and only use base strength, and you don't want to go below 100% strength. Because I was testing, and Ember's Fire Blast, so the base value is 75% armor strip. You can't increase it over 75% with strength mods, but for some reason you can decrease it if you go into negative strength. Another really important thing about Fire Blast is the armor strip is permanent. It is not like corrosive or a heat proc. It's once you strip the armor, it's just gone. So that's why I don't need duration on this build. So I already used Fire Blast once. I mean, I can just like use it again. I kind of like think of this as like, Fire Eater or Carnival Grendel, because you get this really funny effect. And then, you just vomit them out. They have way less armor, and they have this huge toxin proc. So when you suck enemies in and then spit them out, they take toxin damage, and they get a guaranteed toxin proc proportional to that damage. So that scales off the enemy level and the number of enemies. And it's just really effective. And so that's what I do for like higher level play. But if you're in a low level mission and you don't really need that much damage, well, you can just chill in your meatball. And this thing, so when you bounce in your meatball, with the, this build has a decent amount of range. And so when you're bouncing in your meatball, it does pretty good AoE damage. And you can use the augment to like fling yourself around. That's pretty fun. So I mean, I don't know. I think this is pretty cool. Obviously, his meatball is not the most effective, but it's actually really good for clearing low level stuff. And then you can use this combo for higher level stuff. And so you just, get them out, strip armor, and they die to the toxin. So it's pretty sweet. And so we can try this out in Steel Path. So these guys are not Steel Path enemies, obviously. So we can head over to Steel Path. So just to summarize, this is the build I like. It's you can kind of mess around with it a little bit. This is what I felt really good running Steel Path missions, and I didn't have to change it too much to do lower level content. So let's head over to Steel Path. Just to kind of, I really like to show builds both in the Simulacrum and on Steel Path, because, a lot of times builds just don't work like you think they will. If you only test a build in the Simulacrum, you're probably going to be disappointed if you go and take it into a real mission. So some of the takeaways from this testing, I tested this build quite a bit. The new Kavat, I am a huge fan of the new Kavat, the Panzer Volpaphyla. I think it's an awesome option. I've used the Smita Kavat almost exclusively for like way too long. It's really nice to have another companion. I feel good using, or another Kavat that I like to use. So yeah, sucking a bunch of enemies, and then strip their armor, and they just die. They just die. Another really nice benefit, sometimes, so Grendel is really tanky once he has enemies in his gut. So that's kind of the unfortunate thing, is it does take a little bit of setup, right? Because you're not super tanky right away. You do need enemies in your gut. And so the CC from Fire Blast is actually really nice for kind of making sure that you have the time to start consuming enemies. So I've got about 40 enemies. So yep, they just immediately die. Honestly, with Grendel, you don't even notice you're on the Steel Path. Like your damage scales off enemy level. You're stripping a percentage of their armor. Until these things get like absurdly high level. And with the new armor scaling changes, you don't even really notice it then. Like, this might as well just be a normal mission, and you're getting energy back from Hunter Adrenaline, so honestly, you don't even really need Energize with this build. If you don't have Energize, I would probably do the thing I suggested where you run Rage and Hunter Adrenaline, and that. However, that's only really going to work in Steel Path, where enemies are actually doing a lot of damage. But yeah, I did some runs on Ophelia. I did like about an hour and a half. I didn't need any life support at all. So that's usually a good metric for if a build is killing quickly and efficiently. You don't need any extra life support. You don't need to use the pylons that Lotus sends down. You're probably killing stuff pretty quick. So it's pretty nice having the extra range on this build. You don't really need the range for Fire Blast too much, but it's nice having the range for. See here, I don't know why the enemy spawns are pretty low. I guess I'm killing stuff pretty quickly, but so my Kavat died. But this Kavat will res itself, so that's really sweet. So it seems, so just another note on the Volpaphyla, it seems like the Volpaphyla will keep Animal Instinct and Fetch, but only around the area where it died. Like if I moved away from here too much, it would like go away. So it's kind of strange, but so another thing, you can also run a Nucor. Like I'm not using any weapons right now. But in addition to everything I'm doing, I could also use a Nucor and strip even more defenses. And so this build can scale up, especially against Grenier. This thing just completely destroys Grenier. it's even more hilarious versus Corpus because you're doing almost entirely toxin damage. And so this thing just demolishes Corpus. Like, you just instantly kill everything. Um, because toxin damage just goes right through shields. So this, with the armor strip, it's just, I really think Grendel is one of the most underrated frames. He is a huge pain to farm. I'll give you that. Huge pain to farm. However, very strong frame. Very underrated. He's honestly, and the sad thing is you're not really even gonna see this in normal missions because he scales so well into higher level enemies. And I really, really like Fire Blast on this build. Um, it really feels like it kind of completes the build. Um, really complements his playstyle if you're using primarily Feast for damage. Um, it's I don't think it's quite as good if you're going relying on your meatball, his 4. But if you're using his 4, you're probably doing lower level stuff anyways, and it probably doesn't matter that much. So, I think this is the build I'm going to be sticking with Grendel for, kind of the foreseeable future. The other really nice thing is that his Feast, will actually act like kind of similar to like Mag's Greedy Pull. So it pulls drops towards you. So that's a really nice little thing about his 1. So part of the reason I run enemy radar, or I like enemy radar as my excellent or my aura, is because even if my pet dies, then I have radar, I have a way to get drops, and I don't really need my pet to live. That's kind of why I went with the Vulpaphyla, because it can just res itself. And so I'm like pretty tanky when I have a lot of enemies eaten. But if it gets really sticky, you can just make your Grendel immune and regen, a bunch of health. So I think it's really nice to just, I know a lot of people start off with Zeneric, which is totally fine. It's also a very good focus school. But it's really nice to grab those Power Spike and Protective Dash in Naramon and Bazarin, respectively. So, alright, sorry, this is just really entertaining for me, so I get a little carried away sometimes. I think my record is like, I ate like almost 70 enemies the one time in Steel Path. And so as you can just see, they just flop over. So I've been in here for 6 minutes, about 600 kills. For some reason, the spawn seemed pretty low, but I'm not running out of life support, so. And when I've been testing Grendel, I haven't usually run out of life support. Unfortunately, you're kind of just beholden to a little bit RNG. It depends on how enemies are spawning. If how many kills you're gonna get. But he's more than capable of doing pretty much any Steel Path mission. So yeah, that's Grendel. I would definitely give Grendel a shot. Way stronger than people think. He's annoying to farm, I'll admit that. So if you want to do the arbitrations and get the locators and do him that way, or oh, he bugged out a little bit on me. Oh, that was weird. You can do that, or honestly, you can also just buy him with plat. He takes some people, if you don't like arbitrations, it might just be worth farming the plat and buying him. But very underrated frame. Just a really quickly, I have to say, like, I've been testing a lot of the Helminth abilities, kind of disappointed in quite a few of them. Fire Blast was a really nice surprise with how good this ability felt. Being able to strip 75% armor in a pretty big base radius, that's really nice. This ability has felt really good so far, so I'm going to be trying Fire Blast out on a lot of more frames. So far, my favorites are probably Breach Surge and Ensnare, but I'm definitely going to be trying Fire Blast out a lot. So let me know if you tried Grendel out, let me know if you tried Fire Blast, or any other kind of cool Helminth combinations. I love the Helminth system. I really hope they adjust the bio cost a little bit, but outside of that, I think it's awesome. it's really great to just experiment with crazy builds or improve builds that you're already using. So tons of really cool things you can do with that system. So I'm really happy it got added. I think it made Grendel a lot better. I'll just flash the build here one more time. So if you want to give it a shot, let me know how it goes, or any other cool combinations, or a totally different Grendel build. So hope you all have a good time, and let me know how it goes.